My name is Brett Geshros, and I'm here with a very special guest. This segment is Faces of Compassion, the blog show, and I have a very special story today. It's a tribute for Jamie Francis that passed away 6 months ago of cancer, and I have her mom here today, Colleen. And Colleen, welcome to Faces of Compassion.
Thank you.
Thank you. So it's my honor and my privilege, and also Jamie is behind us. She really wanted to do a tribute video of her.
Okay.
And I really honor you to be able to come today and have the courage to do this. This is necessarily not the easiest thing to do,
Right.
but I'm glad that we were able to get together today to do this video.
Well, as you know, Jamie was my youngest of three.
Mm-hmm.
She was my theater music type person,
Okay.
which I was my whole high school years and college years and such. And so I was very grateful when she was born and she took up the same likes and desires, you know.
Right.
Singer from day one. I believe that came from the fact that I sang all the time while I was carrying her. So from the moment she was born, she was singing. And first 8 months of her life, though, she screamed.
That sounds like Jamie.
Yeah. She was screaming, and I was all out of whack, so I went to my chiropractor friend, and he was adjusting me, and then he asked if he could adjust her.
Oh my God.
And I said, well, yeah, okay. You know, I trusted him.
Yeah.
And he adjusted her. Her top vertebrae, the atlas, was out of whack from birth, from the birthing process. So she had a little headache the first 8 months of her life, basically. And from that point on, she slept through the nights and she was fine.
Sure.
And she was always going around the house and humming and and if I needed to have her contained for a while, I could put on the videotape of Sound of Music.
Tell me more about that.
She would sit through the Sound of Music from start to finish 2 complete times before she would get bored with it. She knew all the music, she knew most of the dialogue, and
She could sing it better herself.
Oh yeah, yeah. She would sing it. She would sing it. And then she was at a little choir at about 3 years old. She was in her first dance recital at lesson 2. Her older brother and sister were taking dance lessons, and the instructor came to me. I was one of her backstage moms and everything.
Right.
She asked me if she thought Jamie could do something for her 4-year-old class. And her 4-year-old class was doing a wedding scene.
Right.
And so they needed a tinier child to be the little flower girl.
Okay.
Okay, fine.
I bet it was
I think
interesting.
you can do that. So the instructor taught her a couple of little shuffle kick type things, and she was supposed to walk across the stage, stop in the middle, do her shuffle kicks as she threw pedals across too, and turn around to the audience, do her shuffle kicks, and continue to the other side of the stage.
Right.
She got out to the center of the stage and she looked out at the audience and went, ah! Turned around and threw her pedals as she went off to the instructor at the other side. So, you know, and then she was in a parade at
So
about
that's
4. Yeah.
so what you're saying, that's typically what she would
Yeah.
do. You would never know what she was.
She
You never knew what she was.
always performing.
But you would never know what she was going to do when she was on
Oh, no.
that stage. You kind of knew when he had her do what she's going to do that she was going to pull something
She would do something other.
other than what she's supposed to do.
Exactly. Uh-huh.
That's Jamie.
Yep. And she twirled baton. She did national competitions in baton. As a child, she was in a cheerleading group. And at 9, actually she was about 8, the high school that her older brother and sister went to had a theater thing during the summers. It was like a summer school.
Right.
And but the younger children could come to it too. But you had to be 9. 9 to 18 was the criteria. But because her big brother and sister went to the school and the drama teacher knew me, he said, she can come. Yeah, so 8, 9 years of doing summer theater with with the high school.
Yeah.
And it was always musicals that they did, so
Uh-huh.
always singing, always singing.
Right.
And as she got older, she was still singing. We moved here to Arizona from California, and she went to Glendale Community College, but before we moved here, she had called and had an interview with one of the choir directors at Glendale Community College. Glendale Community College at the time had like 5 choirs.
Wow.
And she auditioned for him the day we got here from California, and she was placed in 3 out of 5 choirs. She was placed in the concert choir, an ensemble group, and a jazz group, jazz singers they were called, and opera workshop. So again, she's still singing. And when her
Wow.
father passed away in '98, I joined the opera workshop class. So then we were doing it together like we had been for many years. And just totally enjoyed it. And then when one of her directors there at the community college was a performer out at the Arizona Renaissance Festival.
Right.
So there we go. Now we're out at the Ren Fair, performing out
Right.
there. You know, so, and her youngest daughter, her daughter, Samantha, her first season out at Fair, she wasn't even 3 months old. Her first season at Fair, and I was taking care of her while her mom performed, and I would say, "Have you seen the baby Guinevere? Aye, she doth sleep in the carriage with the green atop. Go do look." People would go and look, and they'd come back, "It's a real baby." "Well, aye, my lord, you think I jest? 'Tis my granddaughter, isn't she most wondrous?" So, needless to say, we have performed forever, and
So do you?
the night she died, Tim, her husband, and I came over here to the school, to Sweehaw,
Uh-huh.
and Casey asked if he still wanted to be ordained that Friday, and this
Sure.
was a Monday, and he said, well, they hadn't completed all of the necessary
Sure.
assignments, and she said, "It's not what I asked. Do you want to still be ordained on Friday?" And he said, "Well, yeah, okay." And there was a candle lighting vigil on the Tuesday following her death, and a young man that was with his mom gave me this scarf that night. He and his mom both had scarves that they had handmade, and I saw it and I made comments about it, and so later in the evening, he slips it over to me, and he says, "Here, I want you to have this." And
Wonderful.
he was maybe 8 years old, maybe 8 or 9
Aw.
years old, and he gave
That
me
was
this
sweet.
scarf. And then when you asked me about tie-dye, tie-dye, nobody's got any tie-dye this time of year, lady. Anyhow.
My tie-dye is the Arizona Cardinals. She said, "Be casual, don't be somber, don't be serious. We have to be lighthearted. We have to remember her as the musician, as a singer,
Yeah,
all those things that you just described."
right. And both her grandfathers on both sides of the house were ex-POWs.
Wow.
And when you mentioned the tie-dye, there's a veterans site, and this scarf came from that site. And it came in the mail yesterday. I didn't know if I'd have it in time, but tie-dye, there you go, kiddo. And the night of the ordination, Linda Bennett was one of the ministers that was putting stoles on everybody.
Yeah.
And she put the one on me. And she also gave me this little pouch. And in the little pouch, it has a little crystal angel. So, there you are, kiddo. Crystal angel. It's you. And you're right here all the time.
How sweet.
And I also realized when I saw her Facebook page, we went to high school together. So small world. from Portland, Oregon, or Milwaukee, Oregon,
Yeah.
and that area of Oregon to Sweetheart, Arizona, in Arizona. Huh, small world.
Yes, it is. So I did want to ask you a question going back a little bit.
Mhm.
Is any of her children, I know you had mentioned something about Samantha, her daughter.
Mhm.
Is her daughter going to be a performer, do you think? Or do that kind of stuff?
You know, as a baby out there at fair and everything, she was a perfect Rennie baby. I mean, she would be kind of dozing off,
Mhm.
and you could say, Guinevere, Pixie Box, dear Turnabout. Right to the cameras, she would look and play in the dirt with the rocks and play with other children that would
Yeah.
come along, patrons, you know, and all. And she was good up until a few years ago. She started getting this shy type attitude. So she's not as much of a performer,
Is outgoing?
as outgoing as she was as a little one,
Right.
and as her mother was forever.
Right, exactly.
And her son,
What's her son? What's her son?
Sterling.
Sterling.
Sterling and Samantha. Samantha just turned 12. Sterling will turn 9 or 10 in March.
Okay.
And he was a week old his first day out at fair,
Oh, wow.
out at the Renaissance Fair. So he was born on the Friday next to last weekend. And then the following weekend, they were out with him. Yeah,
Wow.
out in the peasant village.
Now, you had said something recently that we had spoken in conversation that they're actually going to be doing something
Yes.
in a performance.
The last 2 years, because of her health, they hadn't been performing. Well, that last 3 or 4 years, they hadn't been performing as participants. They'd been out there as participants, but with the Greyhounds, that my husband and I are a part of the Greyhound group. And so they were out there in that capacity, but not performing. And as of this coming season in 2015, she and Tim were planning on going back into it as
Right.
performers. And so Tim, a month and a half ago or so, went to auditions, and he and the children auditioned, and they got put on the royal court. So now we're making royal costumes for your family, dear. Yeah.
Awesome.
And that's a real challenge, getting them all done
Right.
and gussied up, because a peasant costume is quite simple to do.
Sure.
You know, you just get some
But a
cotton and whatever, but royalty, you have to have the crowns, well, not necessarily the crowns, but
But there's
you
a lot
still
more,
have to.
there's a lot
yeah,
more to do, a lot
Yes.
more detail to.
hoops and
Correct.
and bustles and
So you have a picture here. Can you share what this picture is for the audience?
ta-da, 6 years old. In the old days, this is the kind of picture most every teacher did with their students at this time of year as a gift for the parents.
Wow.
Was a silhouette. They would sit in front of a blank thing and
Uh-huh.
canvas and back,
Right,
and the teacher would draw their silhouette,
right.
and then they would cut it out and mount it. So
Excellent.
this is one. She was 6 years old,
Excellent.
84.
So is there, in closing, on behalf of Jamie and Francis, is there anything that comes to your heart that you just want to share? That anything that you can think of, you shared a lot with us. Is there anything that you want people to know about Jamie, about her life, about anything significant she's done?
She did so much, and had a lot to do with a lot of people. And never frightened to necessarily get up and speak. And of course that, again, comes from the theater background and,
Sure.
and the, oh, I gotta project, yeah, okay. Always smiling,
Yeah.
because again, you're always supposed to be in a smile. You're always
Right.
supposed to have a smile. Unless the character or the particular scene is a sad one. And of course then, all right, fine, cry if you must.
I can really remember real quickly she was very outspoken, and she really told you maybe sometimes what you didn't want to hear, right, Jamie?
Yeah.
And I was in a Reiki class with her, and she always made sure all of her relationships were right. Even if something was wrong, she would come up and humble herself. And I can remember we were in a Reiki class, and she hadn't slept, and she was taking care of the 2 kids, and she was like totally exhausted. And she came up to me and she says, "I hope everything was okay between us." And I said, "Yes, it is." She said, and she just wanted to make sure everything was okay.
Yeah.
And that is just the kind of person she was. Yeah. She didn't get along. We didn't get along lots of the time, but at the end of the day, putting everything aside, she had such a big heart for people. She was a friend to many people. So I think that's the message we want to leave, is that she was really a friend. And also I want to add is the beginning of December. Yes, birds. In the beginning of December, she was really talking to me about doing this video, not to forget about it. And she was just giggling and just being joyful and playing, and I could just feel on the way over here to do this video, she was just really tickled pink.
Good.
To be able to do this.
Because I know you mentioned it to me back in June, and then I didn't hear from you, so
Sure.
I thought, oh, well, you know, we're not going to do one. That's okay, not a
Yeah.
problem, you know. So when you contacted me a few weeks back and said, hey, we've got to do this, so here we are.
You know what? I am really a spiritual person by nature. I always believe when it's time, it just falls into place and everything comes together. I want to thank you, Colleen, again for being on the show.
No problem.
I really honor your courage to do this. And I know our friend, beloved Jamie, really appreciates it.
Yeah, huh?
Right, Jamie? Do you have anything to say, hon?
Are you talking? Hey,
Are you talking?
come on.
All right, well, we really appreciate you being here. Again, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And if you want to find more information about Faces of Compassion, you can contact me by email at facesofcompassion@cox.net, and my business phone number is 602-888-3502. Again, thank you for watching this special segment, a tribute to Jamie Francis. Bye for now. Talk to you soon.
Bye.